Hey guys, welcome back to the Business Vlogs channel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I just had a smoothie and I don't think it was the right decision to make. I was in a dopamine deficit for quite some time. The longest time. I haven't had anything sweet for months, perhaps close to half a year now. So this was my first time having like a sweet, and I don't think it's good for my mind, but I might be wrong. Maybe I should have a sweet every now and then. I don't know if it's a mistake or not. I feel like perhaps it would be better for me not to indulge in sweets, but I was rationalizing like, okay, like if I have a sweet after the gym, perhaps it would make the gym more attractive, where I wouldn't have to use willpower, or not necessarily willpower, but I wouldn't have to use, um, because willpower is resisting pleasure. I wouldn't have to use, mm, I wouldn't have to force myself to go. So essentially, if I have to force myself to do something, what is that? Oh, it's discipline, right? Like committing to something. So essentially, like discipline requires mental effort, right? And every single time you have to use mental effort, you're kind of spiking in cortisol, and you only have so much energy in the day. So the more you use your brain, the less willpower and discipline you have later in the day. So you'll see like these high level people have like a Coca-Cola and a smoothie, and you go, how are they operating at a high level despite drinking Coca-Cola and having smoothies? And I realized the highest level people are simply just not stressed. They have um, a fever for anything that creates stress. So they avoid it like the plague, right? They avoid stress like the plague. Essentially, that. They avoid stress like the plague, and they only do high leverage things. But they really enjoy doing the work. And so my worry is that instead of thinking about the work, I would be thinking about the pleasure. And most people are trapped in a realm of pleasure where they're pleasure seeking instead of purpose seeking, instead of being purpose driven, essentially. So a deprived mind has always served me, right? So I think I made a mistake today. I think some people just operate a little differently. I used to be an addict. Like I used to really just indulge in pleasure in every way possible. So I think I made the mistake, but the reason I wanted to do it is because I wanted to test it. I wanted to see how I'd feel. And yeah, now I regret it. Like, but I'm not gonna regret it for too long. Like, I'm only regretting it for like right now. But I'm not gonna like sit here and go, like it's the end of the world. I'll get over it. But I wanted to test it out. I'm like, there's only one way to find out. There's only one way to find out. Let's just have it. But yeah, I'm not built the same way they're built. They probably have like a different mind. Some people operate differently. For example, some people can tolerate stress better than others, right? It's like a gene thing. Some people can jump higher than others. Some people are taller than others, right? So there's always these little things people have biologically that are different. Like some people are naturally better at things than other people at certain things. So yeah, um, I should not indulge in anything pleasurable. It's not my thing. Yeah, besides avoiding pleasure and being purpose driven, Another misconception people have, like, because people are, they like, a lot of people are in the bottom of the spectrum being pleasure driven instead of purpose driven, right? But besides that, besides being like pleasure driven and lazy, there's also people who work extremely hard, like, like David Goggins style, like wake up at 3 a.m., hustle, 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 coffee, da da da. Like I went that route before, like the super like hustle mentality, the entrepreneur hustle mentality. So a lot of people are at the bottom of the spectrum, pleasure seeking, etc. And then you have people at the top of the spectrum, hustling, hustling, hustling. And those people are really stressed out, right? Like they're not stress free. And to be creative, you have to be stress free. So like honestly, it's better to be at the top of the spectrum than the bottom of the spectrum because you're still getting some output realistically. Um, but if you're trying to be a high leverage creative worker, you have to be in the middle. So essentially, you're not, um, yeah, you're not pleasure seeking, you're purpose driven, but you're not you're not like working extremely hard, and you're not working for long hours. You're instead working earlier and shorter. Earlier because you can access flow state earlier in the day, and shorter because you want to compress the amount of time you work. Because instead of walking and jogging, you're sprinting. You perceive the work as more important when you compress it. And then outside of that work period, you're ruminating about the work. You're thinking deeply about the work, considering that the work is the most pleasurable part of your day. And to make that possible, and I've learned this myself, you have to make it slightly challenging, not overly challenging. Not too easy either. Has to be in the middle. Not overly anxious, slightly anxious. If your opponent is worse than you, way worse than you get bored. If your opponent is way better than you get discouraged. If the person you're going against is slightly better than you, or maybe matching your level of I don't know, ability or expertise, then you'd get into a flow state. You'd be entertained. You'd start figuring things out. You'd have fun, right? So essentially that. You want to keep it slightly challenging and deprive yourself of other pleasurable things. And the best way to avoid pleasure is to make pleasure invisible. Like don't like keep it out of sight, essentially. Um, so like for example, the notifications you have on your phone, turn them off. Everything I have is in black and white. My computer is in black and white. My phone is in black and white. I have a boring wallpaper. I don't go on social media browsing. The only time I use social media is on my laptop, and the home feed is not there. There's no home feed. All the video content is gone. YouTube can't recommend me content. I turn off the comment section. I can't see comments on videos. So the only time I use YouTube is to conduct research. So if I have a question, I'll search it up. And then I get the specific video on my search result instead of having YouTube feed me content that's not relevant, that's not productive, essentially. Because social media is meant to be a distraction machine. It's not meant to actually be something that is productive, but you can use it productively. It's a high leverage tool that you have to work around. You just have to restructure, re-engineer, rewire your emotional circuitry to where you're not pleasure driven anymore, you're purpose driven. What you consume creates your identity. You become the person that you can of whatever you consume. So whatever you listen to, whatever you're watching, you start developing the thoughts of whatever you're consuming, whatever information you're consuming. So be careful. For example, a serial killer is probably indulging the wrong information for him to be a serial killer, right? He doesn't accidentally become one. There was something that got planted into his mind that triggered his psyche to turn out that way. Because it's not normal, it's abnormal, right? So what you consume can create a psychological disorder. Scary. So be careful. Anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.